I call to order the Gladstone City Council meeting for December 13th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Good evening, everybody. The City of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires we make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide the opportunity for the general public to participate to the best of our ability. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. The council members and staff will be in person in our council chambers, as well as those citizens that wish to attend in person. The Zoom access instructions can be found on the meeting agenda. Public comment requests were accepted prior to noon today and were to include your topic and phone number. And because this is a hybrid meeting, please be patient if we run into any glitches. In order to keep this meeting moving forward, if folks become disruptive, we will mute the microphones and remove them from the meeting. If that fails to stop the disruption, we will recess the meeting and return within 5 minutes. If we are unable to continue, council will briefly meet to move unfinished business to the next council agenda. The consent agenda for tonight includes approval of the November 8th, 2022 regular meeting minutes, the November 17th and 22nd special meeting minutes, approval of the October bank balances, budget report for periods ending October 31st, 2022, approval of the October check register, legal costs on projects, department head monthly reports for November 2022, certified November 8th, 2022 election results, resolution 1213, which is a budget amendment to accept grant funds for both the senior center and police department. This will be followed by an update from Clackamas Fire District number 1. And our regular meeting agenda includes item number 10, which is resolution 1214, adopting a revised master fee schedule for rate changes and senior center fee for rentals, land use fees, and utility rates. Item number 11, a public hearing for ordinance 1518, amending the Gladstone Municipal Code, also referred to as the GMC. Chapter 17, approving Gladstone zoning code amendments pertaining to middle housing land divisions and removal of design standards specific to manufactured homes. It's file TXT 2022-03. This is going to require both a first and second reading. Item number 12 is a public hearing for ordinance 1517, file TXT 2022-02, amendments to the Gladstone Municipal Code, Chapter 17.18, C2 zoning district, and adding new downtown overlay zones. Since that's a public hearing, it would also require first and second reading. And I'm saying that only so that you guys aren't confused when we vote on it twice. Item number 13 is ordinance 1519, amending the Gladstone Municipal Code, Chapters 9.60, camping prohibited in certain places, Chapter 10.16, relating to abandoned and hazardous vehicles, and Chapter 10.04, parking amendments. Tammy, could you please call the roll?
Counselor Ripley.
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Tracy.
Present.
Counselor Hartman.
Here.
Counselor Todd. Counselor Garlington.
Here.
Mayor Stemple.
Here, could everyone please stand for the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any agenda additions or corrections?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, tonight we do have one amendment to the council agenda, and that is in relation to item number 12, public hearing regarding the C2 zoning district and the new downtown overlay zone. We have pulled that from tonight's agenda. We've given the proper notice to the interested parties. We've placed it on the website that it was being pulled, and we're going to refer that back to the Planning Commission in January for some further refinements. So I just wanted to be clear that tonight there will be no item number 12, the public hearing on the C2 zoning district and the new downtown overlay zone.
Thank you. So item 12 has been removed. First item would be the consent agenda. Do we have any questions, concerns? I'll start down with Counselor Ripley.
No questions or concerns.
Counselor Alexander.
None, thank you.
Counselor Tracy.
No question.
Counselor Hartman.
No questions.
Counselor Garlington.
No questions.
And I have none. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy, seconded by Counselor Hartman to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions? I don't see any. Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Garlington,
yes,
Mayor Stemple,
Yes, consent agenda has been approved. Correspondence, do we have any?
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So before we start, I'd like to say a couple things. First, for those folks that would like to speak today, the deadline to accept comments was noon today. And as a reminder that we allow 3 minutes for public comment. Second, as I do before every meeting, I would like to say a few words regarding the city council. The most important limitation we have sitting here is that we are representing the citizens of Gladstone, not our own personal agendas and beliefs. There have been many times when a decision being made doesn't align with what we would like personally, but have made a decision based on what is best for the city as a whole. And that does not mean our personal beliefs have changed, just that the city's needs were more important. As we discuss and consider matters, there are laws and rules we have to use as the basis of our decisions. These start at the federal and state level, then filter down to our city's comprehensive plan, city charter, codes, and ordinances. We do not have the luxury of randomly making decisions, but instead we have to be consistent and take a path that is defensible. First is an update by Clackamas Fire District 1.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. Again, my name is Mike Bauer. I'm the station captain at the Gladstone Fire Station. And as usual, what we'll do is I'll give a Gladstone specific update, and then Chief Stewart will give a more broad Clackamas Fire update. So to start, we ran another busy month like usual. We ran a total of 251 calls, which is a little bit more than normal. And 158 of those were in the city limits. We had some pretty big structure fires, one off of Hanson, off of 82nd, and then another one just right off of Arlington that our crews were first in and performed awesome. Got a good stop on the fire and search the structure and do what we do. Just awesome. Our station's finished. Hooray. It was quite a process, and I'm super proud of our guys for being kind of adapting and overcoming. We were, I don't know if you guys know, obviously we were involved. We had an apartment that we were living in and showering, and then we had an office. And anyway, kind of 3 different locations. Awesome. We're in it. Really appreciate Darren and his crew's hard work and all of you for helping make that happen. We're setting that up now. So it's cool. We're getting a chance. I want to, as a station captain, you kind of get a chance to put your your fingerprint on the station. And I really want to pay tribute to the legacy of the previous Gladstone firefighters. So we've gotten tons of memorabilia that we're going to put up. Some of those, I just want to include a couple of them. One of them we're putting up on the wall. We're putting up the ladder truck they used to have. They had a big placard on the side that said Gladstone Fire Department, proudly serving the community. That's going to be up on the wall. We found a really cool old city charter or fire department charter member from May 1st, 1928, like handwritten, all the members. We got that nice framed, and we're going to put that up. And then a cool old pike pole, which is the big long poles we used to pull ceiling from the 1976 Seagrave that looks like it was acquired from Oregon City. So just pretty cool. And then fire restoration, that company in town's building us a kitchen table. And if you know anything about the fire service, that's where we do everything. We solve each other, solve problems, we train, we eat, everything. So it's cool to have that. And they're going to do a really good job at kind of paying tribute to community. And so that's awesome. And then as far as that, you guys did a tour. Some of you were able to do a tour. I apologize. I missed that. We're on a family trip in Washington, D.C., but I hope that you got to see how awesome that is. And it's set up now for 24-hour staffing and a nice kitchen, and wow, it's awesome, and it's going to serve us well, hopefully for the future. And then some PR events we were involved in this December, of course, with the Christmas season. We were at the Christmas tree lighting. Our guys participated in the Santa and the Seagrave event with Pat McMahon and did the touring with Santa. And then the toy drive through the high school, we collected, I don't know, 4 or 5 barrels of toys, and it was just never ending. So super cool. The community here is awesome. We love being a part of it. And I guess the final part of saying thank you to the outgoing council members. Really appreciate your help and helping this transition with Clackamas Fire. And personally, I like to say thank you, and I look forward to working with the future counselors, and just I'm excited to be here, and we'll take any questions about Gladstone stuff after Chief Stewart gives his report about broader.
Great. Thanks, Captain. So good evening, everyone. I'll start off where Captain Bauer ended. Thank you to the council. It's been a pleasure working with everyone here. Congratulations on your election to the state. And we look forward to working with the Congress, or with the future council. But this council has done a lot of great work to get us to where we are today, fire service wise. When you look at the number of calls that the crews respond on, paramedic on every call, coming out of the station, well, out of the station now, not coming out of the apartment or the office to get to the station to go on the call, but coming out of the station now, 24 hours a day with 3 people, paramedic on every call, first in on the local fires, keeping them small, getting the searches done, making sure that patients are cared for with EMS. That's something that this council can be very proud of. We know that, as Mike alluded to, the history of the fire service has been fantastic here. And we have just been able to, with our staffing, been able to change that model a little bit. And I think that's been to the benefit of the community. And I think the members that have continued to be with us are appreciated and recognized and have the opportunity to thrive. I think that's been very positive. It's been fantastic having Kirk Stemple and Richard Newton in that station to help with the transition, and excited to have the volunteers also among our ranks. A couple other things within the district. We did hire Academy of Laterals. They kind of wrapped up this last month. They always cap it off with a firefighter self-survival and rapid intervention drill, which is always a good day. I couldn't make it this time around just to observe or help participate in the instant command piece, but we've got a great group, lots of experience coming out onto the line. We also hired 2 key positions for us, an EMS captain position that's been vacant for a little bit, and then a training captain position, which has been moved to a permanent position from like a temporary duty assignment. So the incumbent got that position, but it's nice to have that long-term dedicated role. A couple other pieces, just to look outside of Clackamas. We are part of the Region Team 3 for hazardous materials. That's a new arrangement as of July 1st. Gresham has been the primary agency with that, but we've joined in to help support that staffing. And outside of training, we had our first activation as part of that team. So our crews and the Gresham crews went out to Grass Valley, Oregon for a commercial fire. They had a 28-gallon heptane tank that was threatened or involved. So they were out there helping that about mid-month. And then the state is also kicking off 2 committees under the Governor's Fire Service Policy Council that I wanted to bring your attention to. Urban Search and Rescue. The state used to have a great urban search and rescue program that it funded and established a number of teams through across the state, much like the hazardous materials teams. That has gone by the wayside due to funding. Not surprising that, everyone makes choices about what there is, but the state is taking another look at that. So they're having a Fire Service Policy Council meeting or subcommittee on urban search and rescue. And then the second one that is starting off, and we'll have our kickoff meeting in January, is the firefighter behavioral health piece. It's important to take care of our members for their benefit, for their families' benefit, for the communities that we serve, and for the financial health and employment security of the employers. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Counselor Ripley,
No questions.
Counselor Alexander.
Just went down, looked at the fire, it looks great. And so you guys are all in there now, one spot and looking good.
Counselor Tracy,
Thanks for the information. Appreciate the presentation. No questions.
Counselor Hartman,
Just want to express my thanks for the smooth transition that you all have provided, and I'm excited to work with you from the state level. So thank you.
Counselor Garlington.
Ditto. It's been a pleasure, and you guys have made everything happen seamlessly. Administrator Betts, Mr. Canaparoli, the building looks awesome. my hat's off to you all. It looks good. It's clean. It's welcoming. So that's exciting. Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for all of your hard work. But one thing that I noticed while we were on vacation, we had the opportunity to meet a gentleman that just retired from Las Vegas Fire Department and another gentleman that is a chief in Calgary, Canada. And they said that they are so desperate for firefighters that they're actually doing international searches now. So that tells you where it's heading, that we need more people. We need to get them inspired to be firefighters. So thank you very much for the work that you guys do.
Thank you.
Okay, next is our regular agenda. Item number 10 is to consider approving resolution 1214, adopting a revised master fee schedule and repealing resolution 1210 for rate changes and senior center fee rentals, land use planning fees, and utility rates. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. So twice a year, we come to you after we have reviewed our master fee schedule. And our master fee schedule allows the city to charge certain fees for certain services. We took a comprehensive look the last 6 months, and we have various fees that we'd like to discuss with you tonight that go across different departments. So we have our Community Services Manager, Tiffany Kirkpatrick. We have our Finance Consultant, Kathy Brucker, and our Public Works Director, Darren Canaparoli. The first one that we're going to start with is our utility rate increases. And after years of significant utility rates that started back in 2018, we are finally at a place where Gladstone is only increasing our utility rates by 4%. We all know that inflation is 8 to 10%. We understand that that is very difficult right now for some people to manage that. So I'm going to have Kathy talk a little bit about the utility rates. And then if you have any questions over that section, we'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. As you know, these are the annual increases that we have on the utility rates. We are increasing it only by the 4%, as City Administrator Betts mentioned, and it is an inflationary adjustment only. We're requesting it far lower than what inflation is because it just wouldn't work for, the citizens to have it be going that high. These apply to the base rates for water, sewer, and storm, and also the bulk water rate citywide. The 4% increase amount is the same exact increase that we had last year. But most importantly, this is also what was budgeted for each year in the 21-23 biennium budget. So what we plan on operating with. The right-of-way minimum charge increases, those are embedded right into the master fees and charges schedule as an automatic 3% increase every year on January 1st. So are there any other further questions?
Councillor Ripley,
I have no questions.
Councillor Alexander.
Yes, why are we lumping these all together? Why can't we vote on them separately?
Lumping
Like the,
all of these.
yeah,
That could be something that the council wants to discuss and decide to do. If you don't want to approve all of them, it's kind of like the consent agenda. You can pull one item off to discuss it separately.
okay.
Do you have any questions on this one?
Yeah, I think I'd like to discuss more on this utility rate increase.
Yep.
I've gotten a lot of people reached out to me, low income, senior citizens.
Okay.
4% is a lot to them right now.
Then probably what we should do is go through it all. And then at the end, when we're done asking questions on these 3 items, pull that. for
Okay,
additional
that's
conversation.
however we need to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Councillor Tracy,
I don't have any questions with this.
Councillor Hartman.
Thank you. I just, for the record, would agree with Councillor Alexander to talk about this utility and vote on it maybe separately. My questions, can you just, and it's more just because I had a question about it from a community member. On 10-12, it talks about meter size. And they, you look at that and you're like, that's a huge increase. But then when I Googled traditional single family home meter sizes, can we just clarify that which ones are sort of traditional for our single family or our homes? Because I think the sticker shock was the 8 inches there. And I'm like, I don't think that any home has that. So just to clarify for people. Sure.
Typically, your residential house has a 3/4 inch meter. Depending on the number of fixtures that you have in the house, is going to depend on if you need to have a larger meter. But typically, I would say most residential in the city of Gladstone is a 3/4 inch meter.
Okay, perfect. Then they can point to people. It's like, you don't have to worry about $286.
Oh, no, that'll be the 3121.
Yeah. And then just a point for clarification on 10-14 in Exhibit B, what is the dark blue color? Every other line item has like a water is, light blue, sewer is purple. What's the dark blue? It's a graph. Oh, this one, yeah.
Here
ma'am.
on the Exhibit B, yes, as he said. So the dark blue is for water. Let's see, the turquoise looks like that is the water charge.
Yeah, the dark
Yes,
blue.
the
at
one on the
top.
very top there. This,
There's no code for it.
it is not, I apologize, it's not listed on the chart at the bottom. But looking at the dollar amounts involved in that. Oh dear. And as Councillor Hartman, I'm sorry, I don't really have an accurate answer to give you at this time on this,
Okay.
as far as what that might be.
A surprise.
I know,
It
that's a
is
big
a
one, right?
Yes, you passed the test. You got it.
Yes.
Yes. I apologize. Basically, that last bottom half of the chart is what is reflective of the dollar amounts per entity.
Sure.
Yeah.
No worries. And then is this time to talk about right of way also, or no?
We'll just do that.
Just utilities? Okay, then that's all. Thank you.
Counselor Garlington.
Okay, so I was looking at the chart on 10-14, and if you take out the extra street and parks fees in West Lynn, Oregon City, and Milwaukee, add the 5 numbers up, divide it by 5, the average is $110, and we're above that. I think my concern is where, like, if you look at West Lynn, they've got $20 a month going towards their parks from their residents, and we don't have room for that. We don't have room to ask, and I want to ask for that in the future. So I'm really stuck between a rock and a hard spot on this, because I just feel like there's just no room for movement. We're cash strapping everybody in our city, and we can't do that. I'm really concerned about this. I'm just not even sure where to go with it. Okay, so what is the percentage of people on, you said we have 10,000 water meters in Gladstone? Am I wrong?
10,000 meters?
Or I'm
No,
sorry,
we have less than 4,000.
less than 4,000. Of that 4,000, how many people get reduced? I was thinking voters.
Oh,
Of those 4,000, how many people get reduced water rates?
on the low income.
Yes, ma'am.
We have one trailer park in town that is the largest low income user, and over and above that trailer park, which is about 40 some accounts there. No, excuse me, I apologize. It's just over 100 accounts there. Then over and above that, we have maybe about 30.
Okay, so the
Yes.
trailer park isn't, they don't, or they pay per individual person?
We have a rate established for them that applies to about 70% of the people in the trailer park.
Okay,
We've had brought that to the council several years ago. and came up with a basis of comparison to our low income rates for them.
And they have remained on that path that
Yes.
we originated
we
with
had-
them. With them.
Yes, they have remained on it. We adjust it every single year, do a survey every year as to how many people still qualify at the low income rate in there.
Okay, and then if my memory serves me correctly, and I should have sent an email out this morning asking, but was there not a one of our water, or not water, I'm sorry, gas, electric, something that we no longer have a pass through on that? Does anybody
No,
remember
we-
that we
We
weren't
have the
going
two
to?
sewer pass-throughs. And with Wes and Oak Lodge.
Okay, but I think what I'm talking about is we get a right of way fee from the electric company, and then basically it just gets passed through to the electric users. There wasn't a utility that we got cut off on that?
Comcast, you're thinking there is a portion of the Comcast telecom that we no longer get.
Okay, so if
Yes.
we're no longer getting that, what is the hit on that
That
amount
was
of
about
money?
120,000 a year that we took a hit on there. And that was due to a court case that Comcast or one of the utilities had taken against another city here in Oregon, and it was decided in their favor.
Okay, so so far as that $120,000 goes, as we all know, Gladstone watches every penny we spend.
Mhm.
Where is that money coming from now?
It's a loss of revenue. Portion, the right-of-way revenues were hopefully to be going into construction within the right-of-way. So that's basically, it's not made up elsewhere. It's just we no longer have those funds.
Okay,
So
okay, all right, I'm done, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on utilities? No, all right, next.
Next is the street opening permit. This is a one-time extension for utility companies that tend to pre-permit all of their work in advance. The fee would be $100 and give them a 90-day extension. The thing that's nice about this is we don't have to recreate all the paperwork and go through all the hoops that we would normally do with our right-of-way permit. It's basically just roll the permit over and they've got 90 days to complete the work. If they do not complete the work within the 90 days, then of course we will have to re-permit, which takes staff time and also the utilities time. That's pretty much everything that's involved with that. The technical plan review and development fee, nothing really changes with this. A couple of the things that do change with it is currently there is a 5% fee for the development for plan review. With unlimited plan reviews included with that. We want to set a 2 plan review for that 5%. And then anything above the 2 plan reviews would be a 3% charge based off of the engineered estimate that they provide at the end of the, when they submit their plans for final and everything like that, the engineer fees, it would be a 3% on top of any of the, on top of the original 2.
3% per review after that?
Per review.
Per review,
after
okay.
that, yes.
All right. Questions, Counselor Ripley,
I have no questions.
Counselor Alexander.
Does that happen very often? Does that take up a lot of your time? I mean, they do a plan, they resubmit it, then you've got to reapprove it and it takes your time and
Yeah,
energy. So,
recently, we've had some plans that have come through that, to be honest with you, we've had to review 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
oh, and that's just on your time and your
on
dime.
average, that's about $500 a review that comes out of
Oh,
basically our pocket. This would help get some of that revenue back for that.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Tracy,
No questions.
Counselor Hartman.
My question is really on 10-19, just the schedule. In terms of like the way that it reads, it's 5% for up to 2 plans submitted. Ooh, that's a lot better. And then we're adding that line of a 3% of construction costs review of 3 or more. So if they submit 5, 2 of those are at 5% and 3 of those are at 8%, or
Maybe 3%.
3% each. Okay. That was my question. Thank you for clarifying.
Counselor Hartman, though, thank you for bringing that to our attention because there is a fix that needs to occur on page 6 of that. Darren, did you want to go over that?
Yeah, so the way that it reads in the council packet is you have in red a 5% cost, and they have striked out the 2.5% per construction cost. That 5% is actually 2.5% of the construction cost and the 2.5% of the inspection. So you've got review at 2.5, inspection at 2.5. That makes the 5%. So there is an error in that we do need to change, but the 3% is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to do a strike through on the 5% of construction that's in red. And then we're going to delete the strike through on the 2.5% of the construction cost. What is in the staff report is correct. What is in the table will be fixed.
All right, Counselor Garlington.
I was just curious, a while ago, we had gotten some charges and gotten a cost comparison on what it cost to build a home in Gladstone based on the fees and then what it, in other jurisdictions. Do you have that? I'm just asking, and if you don't have it, let it go.
This is mostly for private development.
Okay.
It's not for single family. So,
Oh, okay.
so if somebody's going to come in and do a subdivision, it would count toward them there. Or if
Mhm.
somebody is coming in to build a building, something like that, that would be private development. That's where these fees would come in.
Thank you.
And the reason that we looked at this is because the city of Gladstone does not have a city engineer on staff. So if you have somebody coming in and we're constantly reviewing 5, 6 plans, we're paying the city engineer to do that and not recovering any of our costs. So that's really what was the impetus for this fee.
So the county is not doing those reviews for us. We are doing those in-house-ish by using the city engineer.
Yeah, so any of the private development that happens in Gladstone that has to do with infrastructure, that comes through us.
Okay,
Anything on private side, that goes through the county.
it does go through the county. Okay, do these fees align with what the county's doing? Because I know they've been looking at changing it for a while.
I'm not sure what the county charges. We did look at the cities around us, and every one of them has an additional fee for additional plan
Yeah.
review. So it's not
Yeah.
like we're basically the only ones that don't have it. So looking at the costs and everything like that, we thought it would be a good time to make that change.
Yeah, I know when I was on the Development Liaison Committee, we were having issues with people coming literally with drawings on napkins and turning them in for review. So, I mean, it was review after review, holding their hands and basically creating the project for them. So I'm glad to see that we're going to recoup some of that money. Did you have something else?
I wanted to go back to a comment you just made when you said this applies not to single family housing. How does this affect our middle housing that we're going to talk about next?
So if you have own a house currently and you go and do improvements on that, these fees do not work toward that. If you come in and you are changing infrastructure, putting in pipes, sewer lines, everything like that,
Making a duplex.
that's when these fees would then come in. And it's a fee off of the engineered estimate
Right.
of the improvements.
Okay, so if someone comes in, wants to create a cottage cluster, this would apply to them.
If they are putting in new infrastructure, yes.
So, okay, so it centers around new infrastructure. Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else for Darren on this one? Nope. So I guess, yes.
And if I could interject for just one moment, I was looking at this chart and I just wanted to tell you what the representation is on this as far as for clarification. This chart here, the dark blue portion is the total amount of the bill.
Okay.
To give you kind of a comparison there across as far as just from a visual comparison at of the 5 different entities. If you look at the dollar amount, you'll see that where it is showing up on the right-hand side there on the access is roughly double of what the bill is. So it's showing the individual components and then it's showing the total. So that is
Okay, that makes
what
sense.
that
There's no surprise
no surprise.
utility that we
Yes, I
don't know about.
apologize for not
Air,
having that
air
answer a
utility.
little quicker.
All right, thank you. Any questions on that? All right, next would be the senior center fee for rentals.
Yes. So the senior center, as far as I'm aware of, has not increased any rental fees in years and years. So we increased it very minimally for residents and individuals and nonprofits. Between the two, between commercial and for-profits and residents of Gladstone or nonprofits, $10 to $25 at the most, we increased it. And also we added cleaning fee, something we've never done, super reasonable. And let's see, the deposit as well. And, there's more that we could have done, but we did this very, just considering the people that we serve. And also just the condition of the center, it's not brand new, state of the art. But we look to, I want to look at this every year, actually, but this is where we're starting. We also are looking at possibly adding another day of janitorial service because of the use of the center now increasing. Lots of community events have been happening at the center, as well as more rentals. We have a new space that we can potentially rent also outside the garden. The pool room is open and ready to be developed into something that's rentable. So we just increased it very small amount. Talk to the staff, talk to the participants, and then the board as well. So that's what we did.
It's nice going down there and seeing it so busy and so full.
Very busy.
Awesome.
It's good.
Counselor Ripley, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Counselor Alexander,
No questions.
Counselor Tracy,
No question.
Counselor Hartman.
Too fast. I did have some questions. I know I totally understand what you're saying, that, it's not state of the art or anything. So
Yeah.
it's coming from a place of experience in the event industry and like a business minded, and just making sure that we're just at least covering the potential of new staff or people to like set up the venue. And it does make is the money, or is it $55, $65? Is that per hour, or is that for the 2 hours?
It's for 2 hours.
For 2 hours. Okay.
Which was super reasonable when I looked at
Yeah.
what's being offered. Also, we're, as far as I know, we're the only rentable, like, large space that Gladstone has. I think there's a Gladstone Community Center out there,
Mhm.
but it's not ideal for what people have been looking for in terms of like a memorial service, or which is
Right.
typical for what we rent, things like that. And theirs is much more.
Yeah.
So I do expect that we'll increase it, but I guess I was being, I was trying to be thoughtful about the participants that rent it and the families that we see for at least my year. And I definitely see that we may have to look at this again.
Yeah, no, in looking at, like the Pioneer Center, they charge $85
Right.
an hour
Yes.
for their residents, and 105 for non-Oregon City residents. And
Be a huge jump for us all.
it would. No, I know. It's just, like thinking about the operation that goes into setting up the events, like, does it cover the salaries, the janitorial, all of those things, and I have high hopes that this is going to be a pop in place and people are going to rent it left and right. And so, as a nonprofit person, I'd be like, oh, I see this. This is
Yeah.
great. But I don't know if you're going to break even on the labor. And that's what makes me nervous. But I also can take and honor the fact that we've never raised before, but just keeping that in mind.
Yeah, this is a first, and I think we just we need to keep it on our radar for every year. It's just been sitting there and hasn't really been looked at or discussed. And so, yeah, you are right. You are right.
But no, I think this is exciting. I think with the right amount of promotion, you're going to have some really good return, so thank you so much.
Counselor Garlington.
I was just curious to find out if you had increase in renting it out since we've opened it back up.
Oh, definitely. I could not give you an average, but
Okay.
yes, we are renting it more,
Good.
right away,
Oh, good.
right away. Last year in January, probably every other month,
Oh, good.
several rentals. And now we're gonna have, community bingo through some regular things. And then also Medicare, some professional agencies rent it for meetings. Our next door neighbors, the Northwest Mental Health, they rent it regularly for meetings. So on a smaller scale, yes. We'd love to have some larger events that are longer. So, and just be able to count on those consistent rentals. So I think we're headed there. The more people find out that we exist, we're just talking about being more seen on the street, that people understand what this building is. Surprisingly, people that have lived here for years are just finding out what's inside. So
Wow.
we're at that point.
Okay,
So
good work.
So it's growing.
Thank you.
Do we know if the First Tee is renting their spaces out? That was the only other one I knew of, that
It's the first T.
the children's course.
Oh, okay.
Campbell course, I
No,
think is
I
what
didn't
it's
even
called
know
now.
about. I didn't know they had a facility to rent.
Brand new building. Yeah, I think
Wow.
they have, but I don't have the
Ah.
specifics on it, but that I think would be the only competition.
Yeah,
Um,
or churches too. Churches that
churches.
have, large churches that have, what do you call it? A fellowship hall.
mhm.
They're gonna, people want to be in a church sometimes, especially a wedding or a
Yeah.
reception.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's all right. It's definitely becoming the focus, especially with that beautiful tree all lit up. It's awesome. Any other questions for Tiffany? I don't see any. So do you want us to do a consensus as far as removing the utility and discussing that separately, or do you want a formal motion and vote?
Well, the last item I want to highlight is the planning fees.
Oh, sorry, planning.
Because I want to be clear, these are existing fees, but currently Clackamas County accepts the money for Gladstone. All we're doing is shifting it over into our master fee because Clackamas County is no longer going to be providing planning services for us. So the fees that you see in the master fee schedule are already in existence. We're not raising them. We are just moving them to the master fee. So with that clarity, yes, the council can decide if you don't want to approve these as a bundle and remove the rates. We will have to do an amendment to our resolution based on the discussion that you have with the utility rates.
Okay, then I'll just ask for consensus. Counselor Ripley, do you want to pull out the utility or do all of them individually or all
I'd like to
together?
at least pull out the utility.
Okay, Counselor Alexander,
Yes, I just want to pull out the utility.
Counselor Tracy,
I'll go with the package.
Counselor Hartman,
I got all my questions answered, so I'll just do the package.
Counselor Garlington.
I'm willing to have a side discussion about the utility rates. Yes.
Okay, and I am also. So that's how we'll proceed. Do you want us to go ahead and vote on the other three now and then do the utility second? Or just do the utility piece discussion now?
I would have the discussion now because you may come back to decide you want to approve them,
The whole package?
the whole package.
Okay, all right, then we will focus on the utility rates right now. Counselor Ripley, questions, concerns, comments?
Well, I've had a few comments made to me about not wanting this. It really gets grating on you when you hear so many people complaining about what we're doing. We need to start listening to them. And I think Councilor Garlington's comment about taking out the orange and red sections, this is a really deceiving graph, and I think it was done that intentionally. If you go down to the bottom and you cover up those bottom three lines and you just compare, Gladstone's the highest in water, the highest in sewer. And somehow we came in third place on stormwater. We always want to come in first, but unfortunately we didn't make it on that one. But we're really not that far off. You can't, with Milwaukee's being so high, you can't really include that in the bundle because it's an anomaly. It's too far out there. And if you really look at it, compare apples to apples, Gladstone's a lot higher than anybody else is. We could charge higher rates and dangle a carrot saying we're eventually going to repave your roads, but a lot of people they're not long-term residents. They might buy a house, be in town for 5 years or so, and then leave. And they're going to pay higher rates, pay for something that they're never going to have the opportunity to use. That's my thoughts.
Mayor,
Yes.
one thing that I'd like to do is just to provide the council a little bit more information before you start your debate. Because I think people need to know where this money's going towards. And as you all know, we have had raw sewage in the Clackamas River, and we have been fined by DEQ for several years since 2017, which is why we did the utility rate increases. So currently, we have a mutual agreement in order where we have to meet certain timelines to complete infrastructure. So the increases that we've budgeted for are to replace the water, sewer, storm line infrastructure, addressing the inflow and infiltration deficiencies in the city's stormwater and sewer system. Right now, they are engineering that. The council knows it's going to be a $2.2 million project. That work will be coming to the city council probably in February or March to go out for contract. So that's one project that we're working on. The other one is the council committed to $750,000 for the rehabilitation of the 82nd Drive pump station. That was built in the 1970s, and we are under an agreement to have that completed by 2025. And we are also in the final stages of negotiating a contract with Oak Lodge Water Services to deal with some of our water and sewer systems in the overlap area that will cost the city about $710,000. Going forward, there's also a $3 million project for the Sherwood Forest asbestos pipe replacement that we have in the community. And so I just want to make sure the community understands that if we don't do our rate increases, we will have to do a budget amendment and reprioritize these projects. Thank you.
All right, Counselor Alexander.
So it has to be 4% though. I mean, I've shared with you over the last week or two, all the people that have reached out. So that's just a lot of money. That makes or breaks them on this and that. And they just, so there's no negotiation. I mean, it has to be 4% or.
The city council sets those rates. And I know this is all why you wanted to be on city council, is so that you could go out and raise people's utility rates. And it's a very difficult decision to make. That is why the previous years when we were doing 10 and 12%, that hurt the community hard. And now with the 4%, that's what we put into the biennium budget, which all of you approved with the budget committee. If you choose not to do that, that's okay. We will have to go back and figure out what the revenue loss is for not doing that and adjust our projects accordingly. That's all that we're saying. You can negotiate a different amount if you want to as a council, but there will be projects that don't get done based on the amount of the revenue that we don't collect for that.
Okay, I just, I've heard from too many people. It's too big, 4% with the inflation and everything happening right now. They're just not a big fan of it. So that's what I want to say.
Counselor Tracy.
I think we've had this conversation for years, and we know that we're coming in after 36 years of no R&R on the infrastructure. We had a previous mayor that didn't want to raise rates and fees at all, apparently. I think as we have folks who are interested in moving into the city, whether other folks are moving out of the city or not, I mean, I think anybody that moves into a city expects that they don't have a failing infrastructure. I think that's just a reasonable person expectation. 4% to me is, again, what are we, 3 points, 4 points under inflation for the year? It's everything else is going up exponentially. I mean, 10%, 12%, 13%, 15%. I've seen grocery prices going up almost 150%. So I look at it this way, 4% to try to do the R&R on this infrastructure is not that high a cost to pay. And I caution folks into believing that there's going to be money available in grants. There's not $186 million available to Gladstone, and $186 million is what staff has told us would be a full R&R. So if we were on the track 36, 40 years ago, we would have accumulated $186 million worth of investment into our infrastructure. It's not there. So I think we're kind of quibbling over pennies at a time where we're getting an infrastructure. We have an infrastructure in place that is continuing to fail and continuing to cavitate on us. I'm comfortable with 4%. I'm comfortable with having conversation with citizens about why. You start looking at home values. If we have a failing infrastructure system in this city, your home values are not going to be up there at the levels that you would expect them to be. I don't want to be, that's not a henny penny kind of comment. I think that's just reality. If you're living someplace where your sewer system is failing, other people will find out about that through the market, and they're not going to be interested in investing. I think we should stay the course on the investment. I think 4% was a trim back from some of what we were looking for and asking for originally. And I can't imagine living in a city where you have a completely failed infrastructure. So I guess that's where I'm going to land on it. And I'll continue to vote yes on at least half of the inflationary indexing costs. So I'll just leave it at that.
Counselor Hartman.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, thank you for reading off that list of projects that we have to complete or in process of completing. Because I think if we want to compare apples to apples, that is the case that Gladstone is behind some of these other cities. And some of these other cities may not be in the deficit that we are in. And while, 4% can be a lot for some people, for a lot of people right now, it is better than 8% or 12%, what we have done in the past. And to Councillor Tracy's point, at any moment, our infrastructure could fail, and to veer course from that would be irresponsible leadership, in my opinion.
Counselor Garlington.
So I would just like to say that I have to thank Councillor Tracy and Mayor Stemple for being the ones that had to do that 10% vote, because I'm certainly glad I didn't have to do that. I remember it was a schedule that they did, and it was, really roughing it back and forth to figure out what it was going to be. And like other people, I have heard from people that said, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And I look out in our audience and I'm thinking to myself, isn't there anybody that would stand up and say, I get it, just go for it, because that's what we have to do. Unfortunately, you don't get those phone calls. And I have to thank Administrator Betts for reminding us why we're going at that 4% increase. But I do have a question. Our water is considerably higher than everybody else's. Is that because, and I thought we technically bought water. Okay, so how come our water is so much more expensive than everybody else's? Aren't we all the same water?
No.
The water itself is, the water itself is the same price. It's what you're paying for is to help fix the infrastructure that has been neglected for multiple years. So the dollar rate, the amount per CCF or however it's figured is going to be the same pretty much across the board. The difference is give or take a few cents, but I mean, you're paying the added cost is the infrastructure that needs to be repaired.
So we have that on water and sewer and stormwater, an upcharge, basically. It's kind of too bad it wasn't separated out as, the cost, and basically our cost of doing business. I think that sometimes people would be able to see that a little bit easier, but that's just me, because that's the kind of bookkeeper I am.
If I may interject, we passed those bulk water costs, the wholesale cost of the water.
Right.
Those come in for increase on July 1 of each year. So the resolution you review and approve at that time for the NCCWC water purchase shows that wholesale cost,
Right.
which roughly is running about 76 cents per CCF right now.
And so what does that mean for that top line on each person's water bill?
The 4159 is the total collection and treatment that we have to pay over and above the, it's the wholesale and it's the full retail rate, I should say, I'm sorry. So that is the full retail rate for the base fee,
Okay,
for the, basically the disbursement of the water, out through the lines. And then we pay the customer also, we have the bulk water billing structure where they pay the combined rate of wholesale retail for the combined rate right now of, it's in the charts here of $2 and some odd cents for the first 1 to 6 CCFs. And then it increases as the consumption increases. So those rates are increased by 4% on July or January 1, based for, when that is our city to, I'm sorry.
that's all right.
I get so confused with the dates. On January 1, of course, at that time is where we pass our increase to our total retail rate.
Okay,
Well, so it is broken out through the year.
So of these jurisdictions listed, Gladstone and Oak Lodge are under the same supplier, but the other three are under different suppliers. So the base rates could be
Yes,
different.
Different.
So that's
so I guess
part of
what
the
I was
difference.
wondering is what is the difference between what the water actually costs and what we're asking and what our upcharge is per household? And I wouldn't call it a markup. I'm calling it a cost of doing business. Just asking,
Oh, it's
I
a
don't
ve- a
want
very
anybody
good
to
question.
wonder or
What
say,
we're
why didn't you
currently-
ask?
With this master fees and charges, we're looking at $1.73 per unit for up to 6 units. And of that $1.73, as I say, about 76 cents is the wholesale rate. So the
Okay.
difference there of about $1 is the upcharge, if you want to call it. or
30%.
the- Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it's an additional $1. 7 to 10, it's at 275. The wholesale rate would be exactly the same per, or however much. And then 11 units and above is at 376. So there, the difference on the wholesale to retail would be about $3 for CCF.
okay. And then this 4% does or does not take into account our water increase in this next year?
What water is
When you were talking about,
the wholesale rate?
yes, the wholesale
No,
rate.
it doesn't take into account for that. That will come through. We don't know what NCCWC will be assessing us yet for July 1.
So
So
come
at
July
that time,
1, we have to come back.
Yes, they usually only run about 2 or 3 cents. And
Okay.
they're quite minimal.
Okay,
Aren't they proposing to do some pretty significant
Oh,
upgrades?
Lodge is, yes. Right.
So that's going to be more than a minimal.
But that is Oak Lodge. That's
Yeah,
not necessarily NCCW.
From the water plant's perspective, I mean, it's been, they haven't raised the wholesale rates
Mhm.
greatly over the last couple of years. Oak Lodge, I think, is doing some conveyance work. That's separate. We're partners with Oak Lodge on the ownership
part
of
of
the plant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't anticipate unless we start running into inflationary numbers that start kicking up operational costs, and I can't really speak for Director Hawthorne, but I would anticipate it outside of what we might see on an inflationary side. One of the things the plant is doing, we are a co-owner of the plant. One of the things the plant is doing is putting together a healthy reserve, and that's been done through some really good financial management over the last few years to basically offset some of those costs on the plant, because we do have a plant that is entering, some later stages, but with that thoughtful forward thinking from the director, we've started putting together a reserve fund, but I don't know that it's impacted the water wholesale rates that greatly. I was surprised this year that the water wholesale rates didn't really come up. Darren, I think you would agree,
Yes,
correct?
I would agree.
So I think what we're trying to do is kind of keep some of that flat. Oak Lodge is going to be doing their work, but it'll be separate from us. That's not part of our partnership deal with them in the water plant, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I
those
just
may-
heard rumors about resiliency upgrades and they didn't know what that was going to entail. So that's what I was wondering. Wes is going to be implementing an increase and I believe it's 3%. Do we know when that's going to go into play? And that'll be on top of what we have here.
They just adopted their capital improvement plan. I don't know when their first rate increase does go into effect, but I think the story that's being told is we all have infrastructure problems
yeah.
and we're all trying to fix them.
Yeah.
And before you get into a discussion, I also want to offer up that the city has currently 2 low-income assistant programs. The council allocated $100,000 of COVID funds to St. Vincent de Paul's, and people can apply for that. Some are in Gladstone for utility assistance. The other is that we have a low-income program. It's on the city's website. We encourage people to do that. They don't want to fill out the paperwork. And we're going to have a third one here shortly with the Board of County Commissioners approve using some of their ARPA funds to help Gladstone residents for utility assistance. So perhaps marketing those programs in our community is another way to help offset the 4% increases that you're considering tonight.
I just have one question about
Yeah.
that. So would that help people with their back water bills if they had water bills that were past due?
Correct.
Okay, so I think that would be a really good piece to have and to let maybe even offer up, where you need to be in order to apply, because some people don't feel like they're in a spot to ask. And I think the more information we give people, the more they can, look at a piece of paper and say, oh, okay, well, maybe that does apply to me where I didn't think it did.
I also want to add that Gladstone has a very low delinquency rate
Oh, good.
where people are paying their bills. They don't like it, but they're paying their bills. And it really is, for the first time in 5 years, we're actually starting to get our projects done. And the city attorney reminded me that those projects that I read to you, we have commitments. So if you don't raise the 4%, we're going to have to not do future projects that we currently have planned to do.
Okay.
Councilor Hartman.
I'm curious about the new Clackamas funding. Is there ways that we can utilize those funds to host a session to bring people in to help them apply? Is that a part, or are the funds specifically to help with the bills?
They are specifically to help with the bills, but that particular program will be administered entirely by Clackamas County.
Okay,
So it's in conjunction with the state program that has been the energy assistance program that Clackamas County, the services there has been administering for a long time. They expanded it to include water utility also.
just water.
Water sewer storm.
Water, sewer, storm.
And,
Okay.
But these types of utilities too, making it eligible for City of Gladstone to be part of now.
Okay.
But the people looking to receive help from there will have to apply directly to Clackamas County. It's the same way with the St. Vincent de Paul.
Right.
We furnish the money for that, but St. Vincent de Paul does all of the screening on the applicants for that, which does help with previous balances, et cetera. Our low income program that has been in existence here for many years now does not help with past bills. We do require that people are current with their billing before they apply for that. And we have raised the limits on there, so it's much easier for them to get it. And then it discounts their base rates by 50%. But they, there is a requirement that they are caught up on their utility bills before, because we don't retroactively apply that one.
Got it. So we just have to hope the county does a great job
The county
of outreach.
and St. Vincent. de
Yes,
Paul
St. Vincent has
very-
done a great job. Yes. Okay.
yes,
Thank
very
you.
helpful.
Most senior centers help people apply for these
Mhm.
discounts. We're just not one of those centers that has that program. So we get those calls and we refer them to Oregon City and other senior centers.
Not saying we would preclude offering something like that, we'd be happy to offer assistance, but we're not the screen, the qualifiers for it. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on these? Counselor Ripley.
I think my only thought is to say, if this doesn't go through, then we can't do these projects. That's not correct. Every 2 years, we write a budget. And however much we put so much money in this area, but in this area, it just means that something, it has to come from somewhere else. But we don't always have to be taking our past mistakes and charging the current people for them. We need to work our budget so we could manage the city and not expect everybody else to pick up the tab on it.
Any other questions?
Comment.
Yes.
So there are other models out there. There are utility districts or private utility firms that are now taking over city infrastructures across the country and coming in at a for-profit with a set rate of return and doing the work that needs to be done in an immediate fashion. But they're investing the hundreds of millions of dollars, so they're going to want a return on it. I mean, this conversation happens now every 2 times a year. To Councilor Ripley's point, sure, the folks who are new shouldn't be paying for the past mistakes, but isn't that how everything works? It does. And so it is part of kind of the project is keeping the city alive and vibrant, right? I mean, that's part of our value system. We could entertain looking at the private industry coming in, and they'll tear up the streets, put in brand new pipes, do everything, and they'll run it. But your bill is going to be $180 a month. I mean, they're going to get a rate of return. They're going to get their money back. One of our local companies is doing that now with water plants. I don't know if anybody knows, but Northwest Natural is no longer really a gas company. They see the writing on the wall, and now they've invested in sewerage and water infrastructure, and they are buying water plants across the country, dilapidated water plants. They're coming in and they're renewing these water plants and renewing the conveyance systems and charging the customers for it. Some folks love it, some folks don't love it. But I just think that we still have to invest in our community, and it's going to hurt all of us. At 4%, I understand that the impact may be greater for some than others. It's an impact. As much as we could alleviate it, I'd love to go down that path. But if we continue to have asbestos pipes in our city, it's not going to be a real big draw for folks who want to come in here and invest in the city. So I just still caution on feeling like we shouldn't be paying for the past mistakes. We're going to have to pay for the past mistakes. Otherwise, the system will fail.
All right, so maybe a consensus again on whether you want to vote on the utility separate or, oh, sure.
So of the things you read, which ones have we done already? The infiltration and, I mean, the money, you said the money for this, the money for that?
None of them have been completed. They're in the process, and they're tied to agreements with the state that we are mandated to complete.
That's what I'm getting when I'm getting the people talking to me. They're going, we've been paying this and we haven't seen nothing. That's their concern.
Well, you don't see infrastructure underground being fixed, but it is. And that's a lot of the problems too, is people like to see where is that money going? But those projects that I read are ones that are already the city is committed to.
Okay.
All right, yes.
And with those commitments comes this increase that had been anticipated.
That is correct.
All right, so I'm gonna, go ahead.
One last. So for the record, what's the result of our commitment? So what is the result if we're pulling out of the commitment?
I'm not sure I understand.
So if we're committed to the projects, you say we're committed to the projects. If we can't do the projects, what's the end result for us as a city?
Well, like Chad mentioned, we're committed. So whatever future projects we want to do that are in our budget or this next biennial budget will have to be deferred even longer so that we can continue to get these projects done.
But would we still be in violation with DEQ?
Right now, we've been able to meet our timelines. The next one is July 2023. We're on target to get the 100% engineering of the inflow and infiltration done. We then have a fifth deadline of January 2024 to have all of that work complete. So that's to Councilor Alexander's point, is when people want to see that. And as you recall, we've got 239 deficiencies that we're having engineered citywide now for that. But yes, we have to meet a July 2023 deadline and then the end of January 2024 to complete the inflow and
That's for
infiltration,
the INI project.
$2.2 million. Yes.
Chad?
So just to sort of clarify what City Administrator Betts is saying, is that basically we're in violation of the Clean Water Act. And so to avoid penalties under the Clean Water Act, we've entered into this agreement with DEQ. If we violate that agreement, then we can be subject to a lawsuit under the Clean Water Act from any private individual, in which case not only do we have to make these fixes, we have to pay their attorney's fees as well, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's other jurisdictions within the metro area who are going through that process with a Clean Water Act lawsuit. And so what we're doing with the MAO is avoiding that. So you can't violate this MAO because then you're putting the city at a much greater risk. So the consequence, to answer Councilor Tracy's question, is you have to make sure that these projects are funded. So you're going to have to take money from somewhere else to pay for these projects. So whether that's from parks or the senior center or wherever else, you're going to have to come up with the money to pay for this in order to avoid violating the MAO. So you can do that, looking at future projects and deferring those down the road, or it may be that you've got to do something in this current biennium budget because this money was already budgeted to be spent. So you're going to have to sort of balance all that out. And that's the consequence. So it's not just a simple decision of saying, let's don't do any increase tonight. You're then going to have to make a subsequent decision about then how do you pay for that? So in essence, you're deciding tonight, are you going to spend this money this way or another way?
But all of the projects listed by City Administrator Betts were not tied to this MAO.
The ones that she was just talking about.
All of them are tied to this agreement with DEQ.
No.
No,
Okay.
the two that she was just talking about.
Yeah, the inflow and infiltration are the other that we entered into an intergovernmental agreement with is for Wes, because we have issues with their system as well.
Yeah.
On the 82nd Drive pump station.
Right.
That's the one that is $750,000 that we entered into this year.
Okay, but again, the full list that she read is not tied to this MAO. Just parts of it are.
Yeah, the ones that she was just talking about, the INI stuff.
But I'm hearing we're $2.9 million in need, right? So 2.2 on the INI and 750,000 on.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I cannot remember when we did the budget training, but if you could clarify for me, this particular funding that we'll get from this is specific. We have to use that money for infrastructure issues. Like we can't, like when you're saying, oh, we could take it from parks, we can't do that, right?
No.
It would have to be a loan from another fund.
Got it.
But,
Okay.
As far as budget law goes, the proprietary funds, which are water, sewer, and the storm water system, must be self-supportive. You look at them as more or less as business enterprises.
Right.
And of course, being a government, any money that we make is funneled right back into it, just as with the nonprofit. So we can't give money from water, sewer, and storm to the general fund, nor can we give money from the general fund to them. That general fund is the one fund you can take money out of and give elsewhere. But you know what our general fund runs, and it's so tight as it is that there is no excess funds to be able to be building water lines or sewer lines.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, just because I think it's important to understand that it's a specific bucket.
Yeah.
And I just, as a comment, I think maybe because I feel very prepared with all the emails that you send us about the why, but I'm wondering if we maybe spend time creating a fact sheet for us all to have and like sit on our desk or whatever it may be when we do get these phone calls, and we can quickly, and whether it's beautiful and graphic or we can put it on the website, but we all get enough of the calls that I think maybe that's something that we can invest a little bit of time in, is the understanding of the why and how far we have come and what we have invested in.
All right, well, I'm going to go back to
I have
making.
one more. If we pass this tonight,
Okay,
then
that's it.
when do people get to start seeing results? I mean, physically seeing the results of their money going to work. That's the biggest thing I'm getting, they've been paying their.
I think I tried to answer that tonight. I'm sorry if I didn't. But we're currently doing the work. You saw the smoke testing last year on the pipes and all of the crews that are out there. That's all fact finding to figure out where all the deficiencies are in our system. Now that we have that inventory, the engineers are designing it so that we can fix those issues out there. The contract needs to go out probably in February or March. You're going to see boots on the ground with people out there this spring actually fixing the infrastructure. So that's the visible results that you're going to see.
And have them look at the Public Works monthly report. Because it's all in there. If they have questions, this lines it all out in beautiful pictures. All right, so I'm going to go back to, do you want to vote on the utility one separately, or do we want to vote on the full package? Counselor Ripley.
It doesn't matter to me. I think I know which way this is gonna go. I'm definitely a no on the utility, but not on the other two.
Okay, so
So-
you're pulling the utility out separate.
Well, you do it however you want.
Okay,
Either you can get an extra no vote on the other two, or you get a yes vote on the other two.
Counselor Alexander.
It almost sounds like we committed and we have to do this. I don't see any choice. You know, our infrastructure fails. We can't, I don't like the utility rate increase, and a lot of people don't. But if we have to do it, we have to do it. So.
Okay,
And I like the rest of them. I think all the rest makes sense.
so yes, the full package.
Sure.
All right, Counselor Tracy,
I'm still sticking with the full package. Thank you.
Counselor Hartman,
Full package.
Counselor Garlington.
Full package.
All right, then we'll vote on the full package. So I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 1214, adopting a revised master fee schedule and repealing Resolution 1210 for rate changes in senior center fee for rentals, land use planning fees, and utility rates.
With changes per staff on page 6.
Okay, with changes per staff on page 6. Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Counselor Hartman, or excuse me, Garlington, seconded by Counselor Hartman. Do we have any other questions or concerns?
I just want to say thank you for everybody here having the conversation and making sure that everyone in our city understands, I know 4% is hard right now for a lot of people. It's not, it's every penny counts. Go to the grocery store. I know it. So thank you for having this conversation and making sure that everything that we thought about talking about got talked about. Appreciate it.
All right, any other questions or concerns? Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
No.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes. Resolution 1214 is passed. Next is item 11, which is a public hearing to consider approval of ordinance 1518, amending the GMC Chapter 17, approving the Gladstone zoning code amendments pertaining to middle housing land divisions and removal of design standards specific to manufactured homes. So since this is a land use hearing, we have a very specific script. Do you want me to read it now or wait until after the staff report?
I think that we can go ahead and welcome our senior planner, Joy Fields, for her last presentation with Gladstone that will do the staff report.
All right, Joy. There you are. We don't have you on our
Oh,
screens.
Sorry,
Thank you. Hi, Joy.
Hello.
All right, take it away.
Okay, Tammy, should I share my screen or are you going to be controlling the PowerPoint?
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay. I have too many windows open and I apologize for the delay as I find the presentation. So here we are. City Council meeting in December. Last one for some of you and last one for me as the planner for Gladstone. So we are here tonight to talk about code amendments related to the land use part of the Gladstone Municipal Code. And we are going to be talking about options that the city has related to manufactured homes and middle housing land divisions. In 2022, the state legislature passed House Bill 4064, which prohibits cities from regulating manufactured homes differently than site-built homes. And the Gladstone Municipal Code has 2 sections that apply only to manufactured homes, or manufactured dwellings is the way that it is referred to in the Gladstone Municipal Code. The meaning of manufactured dwelling in the Gladstone Municipal Code does not match the meaning of manufactured dwelling that is found in the state legislation, House Bill 4064. So staff worked with the city attorney on a definition of manufactured dwelling that covers both a manufactured home and the prefabricated structures that are subject to House Bill 4064. And so the first amendment that you all will see in the amendment package is in the definitions, where there is a definition of a manufactured dwelling that we can use to comply with House Bill 4064. Additionally, as I said, there are 2 sections in the Gladstone Municipal Code that only apply to manufactured homes. And they are in the low density residential zoning districts, R7.2 and R5, which are regulated through chapters 17.10 and 17.12 of the Gladstone Municipal Code. Because we have these sections that only apply to manufactured dwellings, and we have the state legislation that says we can't apply things only to manufactured dwellings, we are at a standstill in Gladstone. One option is to remove these sections entirely. However, the Planning Commission met and has discussed this a couple of times now, and they held a public hearing in October to consider amendments that would bring aspects of this section that currently only applies to manufactured dwellings into the review for all detached single-family homes or single household homes. And so the items in red are the items that were considered and amended by the Planning Commission. There is one additional change here in red that came after the Planning Commission meeting based on comments that we received from DLCD that to comply with the Oregon Administrative Rule referenced on the screen, we also needed to change the design features. Instead of applying to each dwelling unit, we needed to change it to be each street facing facade so that we can comply with this Oregon Administrative Rule. So in addition to the amendments that you are seeing that the Planning Commission recommended approval of, there is that one additional change as outlined in the staff report. Additionally, the Planning Commission looked at foundations, and all dwellings have the opportunity to have foundations, to have a secure connection to the ground. And they determined that there were 3 aspects of foundations that could apply realistically to both a manufactured dwelling and a site-built home. And those are included here as A, B, and C. During the public hearing, the Planning Commission identified that there was a need to ensure that the external thermal envelope of the building of a manufactured dwelling is as good as a single family home. And so the House Bill 4064 allowed jurisdictions to have language about certifying the exterior thermal envelope of residential units that were considered manufactured dwellings, to ensure that they were equivalent to the exterior thermal envelope of single family dwellings. And so this was added at the request of the Planning Commission. In your staff report, you have 5 options identified. One option is to do nothing. That is option 1, to do nothing, and staff, the planning staff would be unable to enforce or review items found in 1710 and 1712.060. Alternatively, the other option is to scrap these entirely. However, the Planning Commission considered both of those and recommends that the City Council consider and adopt the amendments that we just reviewed. And in your staff report, this is option 2, if you also adopt amendments that we are about to discuss. The second piece of amendments that we are discussing tonight, and I am moving past the recommendation because my hopes are that you will make or follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission, or we can discuss it further. And so I'm going to go through the Middle Housing Land Division amendments as well, so that you can look at it entirely. And similar to the rate discussion, if you want to separate them, we can do that. So for Middle Housing Land Divisions, their Senate Bill 458 requires that there be an expedited process. And it outlines specific requirements for jurisdictions, and then it gives local jurisdictions a few options. The first thing that we needed to do to consider amending our code to comply with Senate Bill 458, instead of just relying on the state law, is to have a definition of a middle housing land division. So similar to the manufactured homes discussion, there were amendments to the definition section of the zoning part of the Gladstone Municipal Code, Chapter 17. While this was occurring, their staff recommended one additional amendment, and it was just for the location of where the definition of household fell. So the actual definition of household did not change, but the location and the numbering changed so that it would be correct alphabetically. So in compliance with Senate Bill 458, and I apologize for the typo in the title of this, the City Council has to approve a tentative plan for a middle housing land division if it includes certain things. If it is to separate middle housing into 2 separate parcels, and it provides separate utilities for each unit, and it's exactly 1 dwelling unit on each resulting lot or parcel, then we have to approve it. However, the law sets out additional items that we have to include. And so it sets out what we need to do. And in the proposed language of 17.30040, item 2A through D and item 5 are those things that we have to do to be compliant with Senate Bill 458. And if we don't include item 5, We have referenced it in 17.94, but for the convenience of people who are wanting to do middle housing land divisions, I wanted to be sure that it was in the code so that they didn't have to go find the state law and read it on a different website. If they're already on our website, it makes it easier and more customer friendly if they're able to identify the required items in the Gladstone Municipal Code. In addition to the required items for a middle housing land division, there are options. And a city or county may add conditions of approval of a tentative plan for middle housing land division to prohibit further division of the resulting lots or parcels, or to require a notation appear on the final plat indicating that the approval was given under this section. The Planning Commission considered this option and determined that it would be beneficial to have these, the prohibition of further land division and the notation indicating that the approval was for a middle housing land division and not just a normal partition or subdivision. Additionally, there are times where someone may have come in for a partition and they may not have completed the recording process for the partition plat. A partition is the separation of land into three or fewer units in a given year. A subdivision is 4 or more lots in a given year. And so if there is a preliminary plat that was approved, there is proposed optional language that allows that plat to be revised if the resulting lots are going to be developed with middle housing and be divided further. That way it saves the applicant's time. They don't have to finalize a plat and go through the recording fees. They can use that preliminary approved plat for their middle housing land divisions. Additionally, there are proposed amendments in several other sections of the code, one of which are the design standards for land divisions. Because a middle housing land division can either be a partition or a subdivision, depending on the number of lots created. And so the design standards for land divisions and property line adjustments apply to all of these types. However, there are items in our design standards that cannot be applied to middle housing land divisions because it's not permitted per Senate Bill 458. Additionally, while staff were reviewing the hearing section and the appeal section of the Gladstone Municipal Code, we found that there were items specifically related to middle housing land divisions that needed to be amended, but there were also some items that could be modified for consistency with other sections of the code. For instance, administrative decisions, the appeal process was not in the appeal section, it was in the hearing section. So modifying that for consistency was one of those proposed amendments. For middle housing land divisions, the state law sets out what the appeal period is and what the filing fee is. That is different than the current appeal period for land use decisions and the current filing fee for an appeal. Currently, the appeal period is 15 days and the filing fee is $250. For middle housing land divisions to be compliant with the state law, we have to have an alternative review process as well as an alternative appeal process because of the period and the filing fee. In addition, there were some slight changes to the language in 17.94 that is for consistency and for outlining the process that is specific to middle housing land divisions. So middle housing land divisions were added to the city administrator decisions section, as were two items that were referenced in 17.25 and 17.29, but not included in 17.94. So the addition of the habitat conservation area and floodplain management area does not change the procedures for reviewing those types of applications, but it moves them into this list for consistency to clarify it for applicants. Additionally, there is language in both the subdivision section and the partition section that was recommended for consistency. And the city attorney and the city planning commission reviewed this language and said that it needed to be clarified. So it used to say upon request, 1 year period may be renewed once by the planning commission for not more than 1 year. For someone who is partitioning their property or subdividing their property, they have to do improvements such as sidewalks, they have to record documents, they have a lot of work to do. And I have found by working with residents of Gladstone that 1 year is not long enough for them to go through the whole process. And so to be consistent with the approval period for middle housing land divisions, which is 3 years, for consistency, it was recommended that the approval period for subdivisions and partitions also be a 3-year approval period that can be extended if the city administrator or designee's final decision is appealed. The end of the appeal is the final date. But if the city administrator or designee receives a written request for an extension, they can extend that approval period by 1 year. And that is not applicable to middle housing land division because state law does not allow us to do that. If you have any further questions about the recommended amendments, I am happy to go through each and every line item and provide you with background on it. But the Gladstone Planning Commission recommended that City Council consider and adopt the amendments related to manufactured homes to be consistent with the requirements for site-built homes in response to House Bill 4064 and the amendments related to middle housing land divisions with the addition of the expiration of partitions and subdivision approval language to be consistent across all land divisions. And staff recommends following their recommendation and approving option 2 from the staff report. And with that, I will conclude my presentation and open it up for questions.
All right, so should I go ahead and read the script and start the public hearing?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and open public hearing. Today is December 13th, 2022. It's 8:09 p.m. Planning file TXT 2022-03 is called to order. The proposed amendments would this is a really lengthy one. The proposed amendments, how am I how do you want me to word that? This is a whole lot of things. Usually it's a very
So
Do you want me to just read what
read the title on your agenda for item number 11?
okay, that's how we will do it. All right. So the amendments would, okay, amending Gladstone Municipal Code, GMC Chapter 17, approving Gladstone zoning code amendments pertaining to middle housing land divisions and removal of design standards specific to manufactured homes. Again, it's file TXT 2022-03. Conducting the hearing, the order of business we will follow in conducting this hearing will be presentation of the staff report, which has been done, entry of correspondence into the record, public testimony, additional staff comments, questions from the commission, hearing closed, no further testimony from the audience, discussion by commission and decision. 3 would be the testimony. Any interested person may present testimony concerning the proposed amendments. The public hearing is your opportunity to comment on the proposal before the city makes a decision. We want to hear what you have to say, and we want you to give us your point of view. Help us to understand why you've drawn your conclusion and how it relates to the proposal. Public testimony for this hearing will be called for in 3 groups: testimony in favor of the proposal, testimony opposed to the proposal, and neutral testimony. If you wish to speak, do we have forms that they were to fill out? Not necessarily.
We received no
Okay.
one.
Well, you were to have filled out a testimony form and submit it to the city recorder. I will recognize those persons wishing to speak, and any questions should be addressed through me. When you testify, please state your name and address for the record, as this hearing will be taped. If you are participating online, click the raise hand button at the appropriate time and wait to be recognized. If you are participating via telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand at the appropriate time and wait to be recognized. Abstentions and conflicts of interest. At this time, I would like to ask members of the council if they're abstaining from this matter or need to declare any conflicts of interest. Councilor Ripley,
I have no conflict.
Councilor Alexander,
None.
Councilor Tracy,
No conflict.
Councilor Hartman.
No conflict.
Councilor Garlington,
No conflict.
and I have no conflict. Please indicate the nature of the conflict of interest to indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. And there are no conflicts, so we all should be participating. The staff report, city staff will now present the staff report.
I believe the staff report was just submitted to you
Okay.
by our planner.
All right. Have we received any correspondence on this matter other than those items included in the agenda materials?
We have not.
All right. Now it's time for public testimony. Does anyone wish to speak in support of the proposal? I don't see anything. Is there anyone online?
We've received nothing online.
All right. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the proposal? Anyone online?
Nothing online.
Does anyone wish to provide any testimony that is neither in support of or in opposition of the proposal?
Nothing online.
Is there any further testimony or any further questions from the audience? Yes. Could you please come up to the table and state your name and make sure the button is pushed so that it's actually working? There you go. Perfect.
All right. My name's Larry Graves. I'm just asking a question in reference to the let's see, I guess the insulation package that goes with both manufactured home and a framed home. What is the difference, or it doesn't matter anymore?
Joy, do you have an answer to that?
That was discussed during the planning commission meeting as well. And during the building of a site-built home, the building inspectors review the thermal envelope as part of their review. The certification that would come with a building permit for a manufactured home to be placed on a property is one where the manufacturer that built the walls certifies that the thermal envelope in those walls meets the same or similar requirements as the site-built home. So it meets the building code requirements for a site-built home.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for the question. Does staff have anything to add which specifically addresses a question or issue raised during the testimony? And Joy just did that. Thank you. Do any members of the council have any questions regarding the testimony? I'll start with Counselor Ripley,
I have no questions.
Counselor Alexander,
No questions.
Counselor Tracy,
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Hartman,
No questions.
Counselor
No
Garlington,
questions.
and I don't have any questions. If there are no further questions, I will close the hearing to additional public testimony. And since it's been 6 years since I've really done this, do we need to do a roll call vote to close?
You
We
just
don't.
need to state the time.
All right. So public testimony is closed at 8:15 PM on December 13th, 2022. The public hearing, public hearing on file number TXT 2022-03 is now closed to additional testimony. The commission can now, or excuse me, council can now deliberate to a decision. Is there any discussion by the council? Yeah, do we talk within amongst ourselves or ask staff? Anything?
So I have some questions about specifically on the design features,
What page are you?
11-108 or 11-117, because it's in two places. So my question is specifically, there's a couple, why we are changing from 2 to 4. And the addition of the roof pitch and the garage or carport, and it changing from 6 to 12 inches. And I asked that, because my understanding of these two bills combined together is really a lot of things, but to also create an opportunity to create more affordable housing and more housing in general, because we are committed to increasing our housing by 2040. Making people have to choose between 4 of these things, especially with the roof pitch, totally removes the opportunity for someone to use shipping container homes or mobile homes at all. And so I personally don't care if someone has a dormer or a gable on their house. And so I'm curious about how we got there with the 4. It sort of just creates additional barriers that we are trying to remove for people to be allowed to do middle housing in these areas and to create more affordable housing for our residents. And so I'm curious how we got there.
So the roof pitch and the garage were items that were only applicable to manufactured homes previously. And so they were 2 items that the Planning Commission wanted to include in this list of design features. By adding items to this list, there was a concern that just doing 2 of these items to a street-facing facade of a building would not make it match the character of the neighborhood or look like a home. So if you had a shipping container, for example, with windows and a covered front porch entry, it wouldn't have to have anything to do any change to the roof. So it would be a square with windows and a covered front porch. Is that enough? As we're thinking about the design of Gladstone neighborhoods for the next 25 to 50 years. And so there was a concern that 2 items may not be enough. And so the Planning Commission voted to change that to 4 and to expand the roof eaves to 12 inches to really protect the foundation from rain.
Thank you. And then, so with G&H, the eaves, we have crossed out here and, so it just says eaves minimum 12 inches projection. And then it moves down, offset on building face or roof. Since that and is removed, what is that offset?
The and was leading you to the next option of design features. And it is now after item I. So this is a list of items that you can choose from when you're designing your house. And it's the and does not change the meaning of the eaves or the offset. It is just going down in the list.
Right. So I guess, does it make sense? So if you're reading H, the offset on building face or roof, minimum 16 inches, do we need to add the word eaves into that sentence? Or
It's not the eaves that are offset.
Oh.
It is actually the building face. There's
building
one
face is
wall
offset. Oh, so
that's
just makes-
offset from another wall by 16 inches or more. And if it's the roof, one, like maybe it's the garage roof is offset from the house roof by 16 inches, or maybe there's a second story, or there's all kinds of design features in homes where roofs are offset by 16 inches or more.
Okay, just trying to clarify that. And then I just am curious, like last question, you know, and then I don't know if this falls under design features or not, but why we don't have any sort of standards about energy efficiency and affordability. You know, we hear horror stories about Portland, about out of state developers coming in, buying land and making these areas. And then it just sort of hikes up all of our affordability on our housing. And so I'm just curious if there was conversation around those things, if that's something that's even part of this, because it, you know, we are moving into a place where, you know, we want this new build to be energy efficient and not poorly done.
Well, these design features apply if someone is building one home or 4 homes. And so it's for homeowners who are replacing their home. It's for developers who are taking advantage of the middle housing. It's for anyone wanting to build a home in Gladstone. Inclusionary zoning, which is a requirement that a portion of the dwelling units developed are affordable, is not currently something that Gladstone has. And we would really want to see if there was a legal pathway for that in Oregon. And so that was not discussed. And the rents charged or the prices of homes are set by the market. And it's not set in the code currently. And that was not a discussion of setting a maximum rent or sale price.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I don't see anything. So I guess we're at the point where we need a motion to approve or reject this proposal. And what you will need to do then is just read the title that's on the agenda, right? It's been so long since I've done a land use.
So you are provided with 5 options at the end of your staff report. Option 2 would be to approve the title as recommended by the Planning Commission. And that would approve the proposed amendments in file number TXT -2022-03.
Well, let me interrupt just quickly. So on page 11-2 at the bottom, there's recommended staff action, and they're recommending that we move forward with option 2. So if someone would want to make a motion.
I'll
that
make
would
a
be the language.
motion that we approve the proposed amendments included in TXT 2022-03 that were recommended by the Planning Commission and modified by staff to address OAR 66046-0225-1.
Where are you reading that?
11-2.
Oh, you're not reading the whole thing. You just
Oh.
picked it up partway in between. Okay, I got it.
That.
I see it. Okay, so motion was made by Counselor Garlington. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Counselor Garlington and seconded by Counselor Tracy to approve ordinance 1518, proposed text amendments for the GMC to comply with House Bill 4064, manufactured dwellings in SB 458, 2021 middle housing land divisions, TXT 2022-03. Do we have any further discussion? Yes.
Quick point of clarification. This is the one where we're approving and keeping both design standards on? Okay, so on 11-117, 17.12.060, it still says single housing dwelling or duplex. And I noticed that on the first one, we had crossed that out. So I just don't know if we need to recognize that. It feels like no one's following me.
Yeah, is that,
So on 17.10.06, you crossed out family and it says to a single household dwelling. Do we need to match that?
What is found in your staff report for those sections uses the chapter 17.10 and chapter 17.12 that were amended by ordinance 1515. In making this PowerPoint presentation, there may have been a typo because I may have used the municipal code that is online instead of ordinance 1515. So if that is your confusion around why one has a family crossed out and one does not, ordinance 1515 went through the code and removed the reference to family and replaced it with household.
so this just needs to be updated.
So the municipal code online needs to be updated to reflect ordinance 1515 that the city council approved and adopted in June of 2022. And I apologize for any mistake to tonight's PowerPoint presentation.
All right, any other questions? Tammy, could you do roll call vote, please?
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes, and since this was unanimous and it's a public hearing, then we can go ahead and do a second reading. So could someone please make a motion to approve based on page 11-2, the staff recommendation? At the bottom. Just read it again. I think 11-2, just the staff recommended staff action. Is that okay? This is a super formal. There. I think that you could just read the recommended staff action. Go ahead and read the recommended staff action. On the bottom.
I think, okay, consider approval of ordinance 1518. Approve the proposed amendments included in TXT 202203 that were recommended by the Planning Commission and modified by staff to address OAR 66046022251.
Do I have a second?
One second.
Motion was made by Counselor Garlington and seconded by Counselor Tracy. Do we have any further discussion? No. Could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Garlington. Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes, ordinance 1518 has passed. Thank you very much, Joy, for all the work. And thank you, Planning Commission staff. This was a heavy lift. We have the chair sitting here in the audience.
A lot of work. Thank you.
A lot of work. All right, thank you. Anything else we need to do on that one?
I was just going to share that you guys did that second reading so well that the city attorney reminded us with the new charter, you no longer have to do a second reading if it's unanimous. So congratulations, you did good. And as you move on to the next item, because you have 3 ordinances, you may not have to do second readings on them if you approve them.
I like that too. All right, so next is item 12, which was public hearing for ordinance 1517, but that's been removed by staff. So we're moving on to item 13, which is to consider approving ordinance 1519, amending GMC chapter 9.60, camping prohibited in certain places, chapter 10.16, abandoned and hazardous vehicles, and chapter 10.04, parking amendments. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. As you recall, in October, we had a work session regarding these proposed changes. I will have the Chief of Police briefly go over the recommended changes before you consider whether to adopt the ordinances.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we bring three ordinance before you, recommend approval of all three. Ordinance 1519, dealing with hazardous vehicles. Ordinance 1520, dealing with certain vehicles and places. And ordinance 1521, camping prohibited in certain places. A little historical background. Last year, the city of Gladstone updated chapter 9.60 of the Gladstone Municipal Code related to camping prohibited in response to the changing landscape and laws regarding homeless camping on public property. Since then, there have been concerns regarding how the law is working within the city and what options exist to continue addressing emerging and evolving problems. One such problem that arose since GMC 9.60 was amended is people living in cars parked legally and illegally on public streets. Homelessness is a vast and complicated combination of issues that impact cities and communities in numerous ways. This request focuses on the specific tools available to the city to address a specific problem of camping in cars on city streets. But I want to make clear on one issue. The police department recognizes the importance of maintaining our philosophy as it relates to homelessness. That philosophy is demonstrating empathy towards individuals experiencing homelessness, relationship building, and providing services to those who are accepting. This has proven to be successful only a little bit longer term, which is why we're coming to you with this ordinance change, or excuse me, amendments. We're proposing three possible code amendments to address this problem, and the city council may consider alone or in any combination. First, we recommend the city add a subsection to GMC 10.16.021, the code related to hazardous vehicles. This states that a hazardous vehicle includes a vehicle parked illegally that has 5 parking citations, each issued on a separate day within a 30-day period. The citations would include a notice that 5 citations issued within a 30-day period could result in towing without further notice when parked illegally. Then under GMC 1018.010, hazardous vehicle may be impounded without prior notice, but in this case, the violator would have had such notice based on the previous citations. The city will also provide a provision stating that if a person appeals a citation per the process in the code, then the citation does not count against them during the 30-day period. In addition, the city would build in internal policy that if a violator is using their vehicle for habitation, they have special access to it in order to obtain their personal belongings. And you'll have it, I think you have an attached Exhibit A for draft language for that. The second recommended code amendment would be to implement a shorter 24-hour parking limit for vehicles parked in commercial zones within the city. Currently, GMC 10.04.2301G, prohibits parking or storing vehicle for longer than 72 hours on a public street in the city in any zone. The city would amend the code to provide a shorter 24-hour period within the city's commercial zones. Additionally, the city recommends increasing the distance a person must move their vehicle to avoid violating the time limit from 1 block or 200 feet to 3 blocks, 600 feet, or whichever is less. And there's more draft language in Exhibit B for the draft languages. Lastly, the city recommends amending GMC chapter 9.60 to include public right-of-ways in the definition of city property such that camping would be prohibited on all property, including public right-of-way between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. And there's another Exhibit C as draft language. These code recommends would help the city better address parking issues as it relates to homelessness. But I can't tell you that it would resolve anything, but it'd be extremely helpful. Under the options portion of the city of the report, you can choose not to accept the recommendations amendment options, accept a combination, or accept the recommended GMC option amendment options as itself. And staff recommends that we accept all three.
Okay, I have a question. In the staff action and in the information that we have, it's actually 3 ordinances.
That's correct.
1519, 1520, and 1521. So do we need to address each of those individually? We do. Okay, so it's actually 3 votes.
But you don't have to do second readings
If it's unanimous.
if it's unanimous.
All right, so make sure that you see that it's 3 separate ordinances that we're going to have to vote on separately. So we'll just talk about all 3 of them at the same time though. Counselor Ripley, do you have any questions or concerns?
I have no questions or concerns.
Counselor Alexander,
No questions or concerns.
Counselor Tracy,
Yeah, Chief, so I do have a question. Camping prohibited on all city property, including right of ways between the hours of 6:30, I guess 6:30 and 9:30 PM, right? That's the,
That's correct. It's kind of the time, place, and manner approach.
okay. So you're not, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe that whole planning commission thing threw me off with how interesting, captivating that was. 6:30 to 9:30. So you're talking about the daytime hours.
Talking about
right?
daytime hours.
So we're not going to be enforcing necessarily after that 9:30. point.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I needed to confirm.
Yes.
I just was looking at it and yeah, thank you.
Counselor Hartman.
Thank you. I think it's more of just a comment, for those that maybe didn't listen into our work session. And if you would entertain the storytelling, I just want people to understand, and back the comment that, it is a part of the philosophy, the importance of homelessness to the city of Gladstone. And that this isn't meant to hinder anybody, and that if you can share a high level story of how we actually did create that relationship and provide that restorative justice and just didn't kick someone off the streets. I think it would be great to put that on the record if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that obviously there's tools that we need and some tools, the ones we're asking for, just prolonged an issue that may have been resolved much earlier for the city. But in one case, and there's actually multiple cases now, but in this specific case I'm thinking about, we didn't have an ordinance to address an issue. It took the relationship building. It took us the ability to communicate, work with county agencies such as behavioral health and housing and such. And we built strong relationships with them already. In fact, we have monthly meetings now regarding this. But because of that relationship with those other organizations, because of the way we're dealing with some of the homeless population here in the city that we encounter, which is not that much, is really in the city, we're very, very fortunate. I'm going to say knock on wood. But that person is now in housing. And we were able to do that through working with that person. It just took a long time and a lot of energy to get that moved, that issue, that situation moved along properly. So that's our philosophy. We're going to continue to use that. Not everybody accepts the help that we offer. But at the end of the day, we do have laws, we do have rules in play that we will enforce, but we'll always offer those services and try and reinforce those services. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much.
Counselor Garlington.
No questions.
And I don't have any questions. So what I need is someone to make a motion. Ordinance number 1519, which is an ordinance amending Gladstone Municipal Code, section 10.16.021, hazardous vehicles, which is on the top of 13-3, the header.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1519 and ordinance amending Gladstone Municipal Code section 10.16.021, hazardous vehicles.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Counselor Hartman and seconded in tandem by Counselors Garlington and Alexander. Do we have any further discussion? Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Garlington.
Yes.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes, so ordinance 1519 was unanimous, so we can move on. The next one is on page 13-7, hold on, no, 13-6, ordinance 1520, an ordinance amending Gladstone Municipal Code Section 10.04.230, prohibited certain vehicles and places. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Cheater.
Second.
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy and seconded by Counselor Alexander. Do we have any further discussion? I don't see any. Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Stemple,
Yes, so ordinance 1520 has passed unanimously, so no second reading needed. Next is ordinance number 15221, which is on 13-9, an ordinance amending Gladstone Municipal Code, Chapter 9.60, camping prohibited in certain places. Do I have a motion? No motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy, seconded by Counselor Garlington. Do we have any further discussion? I don't see any. Tammy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Tracy,
Aye.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Mayor Stemple,
Yes, ordinance 1521 has passed unanimously, so no second reading. So that's it for agenda item number 13. All right, anything else on that, staff?
Nothing, thank you.
All right, next is business from the audience. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. Our governing body takes the input of our citizens into consideration. However, in order to comply with Oregon public meeting laws, this isn't a time for dialogue, but instead time for us to listen. Our city administrator and clerk are taking notes in case an item requires further action. Could you call up the first person, please?
first person is Jim James. Jim James, I do not see him online either. Jim James, are you online?
Your turn.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you for.
Could
speaking tonight. I know
Did-
that-
You come up here and sit at the desk and make sure that the microphones turn on by pushing the big round button.
I've never spoken at a city council meeting before. But,
Could you push the button on the microphone so it's recorded? Thank you.
okay,
Now we got it.
I got 3 minutes, right?
Yes.
That's it. My name's Jim James and my wife and I, we own a business on Oakfield Road called Happy Rock Inn. We do a lot of business in Gladstone. We moved to the area specifically because of Gladstone. We liked it. We liked the community. We thought the people were nice. We've done our best to try and contribute to the community. We feed a lot of people. We try to help a lot of people. We put more than 53,000 masks on people during COVID. We've tried to give and we've tried to be very, very supportive what we do here. Not just through that, but we also promote business in Gladstone. We have done a lot of donating here, our tax dollars, our business, and all the visitors that come through our place, we of course refer them right down the street to Gladstone. Okay. So I just wanted to come and tell you that with all that we thought Gladstone was going to be, what we've run into as a result from some of the people sitting on this council has caused us to make the decision, or at least played into the decision to leave it. Okay. We have a lot of people who come to visit us who have heard of Gladstone. And the reasons they've heard of it aren't good reasons. We're home of the Proud Boys. We have a council whose mayor and other people on it support the Proud Boys, who refuse to denounce hate in this community. Some of them I've counted as friends wrongly because I was being played. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm very integrity based. It's my primary driver. And so what I've done there to deal with that is what I did with masks. I won the argument with masks by putting them on people's faces, and I worked my butt off to see some of you get shown the door. Okay. Nothing made me happier than the results of this last election. Okay. Because you've shown a lack of integrity. You have done everything from, gosh, Mayor, you just make me ashamed to be here, to own a business here. Like, it's horrible what you failed to do and what you've had your sister do and all of this stuff. Greg Alexander, I specifically thought you were a friend. I contacted you before this election. I said, Greg, is it true? Do you really support the Proud Boys? And you refused to answer that question with me. And that told me all I needed to know. Okay. I got a picture on my phone of you at some picnic where everybody's flashing their white nationalism symbols. And man, next election, you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. We're out. Okay.
Next is Sierra Cook.
Happy rock. Happy rock. Bed breakfast.
Hi, good evening. Oh, it's already on. Good evening. I won't take very long. I really just wanted to say thank you to our outgoing counselors, Counselors Tracy, Hartman, and Todd, although she couldn't be here tonight. You know, there are a lot of people in our community who watch what's going on, and not all of them will take the time to be. It's 8:44 p.m. Not all of them can be here at 8:44 p.m. And thank you, but it's not just me. There are a lot of people out here who have a lot of love and appreciation for the work that you're doing. The courage, integrity, and dedication that you've shown to the city of Gladstone is incredible. City council is an unpaid position, and the work that you do can be incredibly bruising. Matt Tracy, Tracy Todd, Anessa Hartman, your community sees the work that you're doing to uplift all of us. We see it. We know how hard it is. Maybe we don't know how hard it is. We know how hard it is up here, but not in here like you do. We're so grateful for your service. Your work has been meaningful, and it has helped Gladstone grow through a very difficult period. Thank you for the work that you've done for the city.
The last is Pat McMahon. Pat, are you online? I do not see you here. I do not see Pat McMahon online either.
All right. Well, then I guess Pat may be out in the hallway. I can see her at all. All right. Well, then we'll move on to business from the council. Before we start, I have some plaques. Microphone. Before we start with business from the council, we have some plaques to present to some of our city councilors that are leaving. And I just want to thank Matt, Randy, and Tracy, who's not here tonight, for their 4 years of work on council. It isn't always fun, and it's very taxing at times. The plaques, the city of Gladstone expresses their sincere appreciation for outstanding service to the Gladstone community as members of the Gladstone City Council from January of 2019 to December 2022. Tracy's not here, so we'll make sure that she gets that. Yeah, no, thank you. I think they all say the same thing. It just has insert name, Matt Tracy Express. Oh, and so everybody can see him. Yeah. All right, so business from the council. We'll start with hold on. Oh, Councilor Garlington. Oh, Mike.
They can hear me. Mayor Stemple, let me start by saying thank you. You officially began in 1997 with the Traffic Safety Board and continued on with that through 1999. Then the Planning Commission beginning in 2005 for 11 years and ended there in 2016. While doing that, you added the Budget Committee from 2009 through 2014. And then in 2016, you took the leap and ran for mayor. With your leadership, the city of Gladstone started moving in a new direction with remarkable results. I have no idea how many accumulative hours you have given, but it would take a team of volunteers to equal your numerous hours of commitment to the city. Gladstone has a new civic center and police station. We have a major update on our fire station. Our parks are now getting the attention they deserve and need. And at some point in the near future, we will have a new downtown library and completed walking path at Meldrum Bar Park along the beautiful riverbanks we are fortunate enough to call ours. I do know that you had a hand in each and every one of these accomplishments. Why? Because you care. You not only say you care, but you are willing to work to make things happen, and you do. You go to meetings, you have conversations with those that matter, you have developed partnerships with the communities around us, and strive to work out whatever is necessary to ensure that Gladstone is part of the bigger picture in Clackamas County. Your awards from groups and organizations in and around us speaks volumes. We're a fortunate city for having your leadership, skills, time, and knowledge. I am certain Wes, C4, and Clackamas County are going to miss you. I have seen you feed fire and station employees, 4th of July picnickers, less fortunate neighbors, seniors, and so many friends at your own dining room table. We have all been witness to you donating, coordinating, cooking, and serving food at so many functions in and around town. You ensure people are fed and always with a warm smile and unfailing generosity. Just how many dozens of cookies you've made for every celebration of the week, or just because, we'll never know. But I personally have tasted all the cookies and can attest that they are really good. Through the food bank, you have helped many neighbors in need. Your work there includes collecting food, stocking shelves, preparing boxes, and so much more. And I also know that the friendships you have made working there mean so very much to you. I'm confident your work at the food bank will continue for some time to come. Your toy collections, food collections, fund collections, and personal giving are all part of your extraordinary generosity and servitude. I've never seen you say no to anyone that asks, and you embody the definition of giving and volunteerism. You've touched so many lives, but I know that you feel far more fortunate as those on the receiving end, because that's who you are. Your acquaintances are fortunate, your city's lucky to have you, and your friends are blessed by your presence. A heartfelt thank you from me. Your knowledge, time, commitment, teaching skills, encouragement, committed faith, and most of all, your friendship. And by the grace of God, I hope to have your friendship for a long time to come, as you have truly blessed my life. Where do you go now? After a few needed vacations, some quiet nights, time with your family and the dogs, I know that you will never stop. Gladstone is your home, and Gladstone will always need people like you, and you will be there. You are one of those people in this community, those that are continually working, willing to roll up their sleeves and make good things happen. Working with you and beside you has been a privilege. And if you should ever write that book, my Monday meetings with our city administrator, sign me up for a first edition signed copy. Mayor Stemple, once again, from all of us in Gladstone, thank you.
Thank you.
And this is everything that Kenny has done.
Thank you very much. And it's my honor more than anything else. So we'll start with business from the council. Councilor Ripley.
Well, I'll keep this kind of short and sweet. And I was gonna make some comments to the council, but I'm not. I'm gonna make comments and talk to you guys. When I ran for council, I had a few reasons. One was to not lose the fire department. I actually thought being on city council would be an adventure, something fun, something you'd build relationships with. That never happened. This council, I've never been involved in something with such a lack of leadership, lack of integrity. And that integrity, it's not just this council, it's this city. You know, when you make decisions, the best way to make decisions is based off of data. Data doesn't care about your political views. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your opinions. But if you make your decisions with data, you can see trends in data. There's a lot of information you get out of data. In 4 years, we've never really talked about data. We've never really talked about a lot. Is this something that I would do again? No, this was a joke. Is this something I'd encourage you guys to do? I would. You might have a different experience than me, but to be involved in your city, to stop some of this craziness that's going on, to stop the unethical, the deceitfulness, when somebody tells you that this is the only way we can do it, they're covering something up. There's a million ways to skin every cat out there. So I think I'm going to end by saying, question authority. If somebody says there's only one way, they need to prove it. And when you prove one direction, you prove it by showing other ways that might work, but they don't work. And be honest. If one of your neighbors has an issue, get them to come to city council meeting with you. And we have what, 4, 5, 8, 13 people here right now out of 13,000 people. We need some more views and points, people in here saying what they're thinking. It'd be awesome if there was only standing room left in here and we had people standing outside. We might actually get somewhere. So that's all I got to say. I had a couple other thoughts, but I'll leave them to myself. So even though I didn't enjoy my time, I hope that other people participate, get involved, question, look for data, look for the reasons why things happen, look how you can direct those incidences. And that's all I got to say. So thank you guys. And I probably won't see much of you any later. So we're out of here.
Thank you, Randy. Counselor Alexander.
I just want to say thank you to Matt, Tracy, Randy, and you, Tammy, for it's not an easy job. You put a lot of effort into it, and just showing up and being here makes a difference. So thank you.
Counselor Tracy.
I'm going to spare y'all. I'm happy to get off this horse for a few minutes and appreciate everybody's support. It's been a rough ride, but we'll get there. I've got a little bit more of a, I guess, optimistic feeling about where the city's going to go now. So let's all go and support each other and try to get there. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your support over the last 5 years.
Counselor Hartman.
Thank you. I spent a lot of today in like reflection and like just that it's, this past 2 years has been really intense, had its fair share of highs and lows. There were moments where I thought I couldn't continue because of those lows, but with the increase in participation and people who are coming up and showing out has really just been inspirational to think that, 2.5 years ago, I knew not a single soul in this room. And I have really enjoyed getting to know a lot of you and working with you all. It has been tough by any means, but by all means, but I think that for me personally, I have every person in this room and on this dais to thank for my own personal growth. And I'm just really appreciative for that. And I want to say, a huge thanks to all of our staff and leadership. You all have been phenomenal at training us newbies and sort of being patient when we're asking the questions to see what data is missing and all of those things. You're an open book when I've always asked those questions for clarification. So, I appreciate that as well. And I'm just really excited to see what the next 2 years hold with the new incoming council and new incoming mayor. I'm excited to see this in 2024 and where we're all at and some of these projects, so it's been an honor and an experience for sure. But I'm just very grateful to be here. So thank you.
Counselor Garlington.
I guess I'm sitting where Anessa's at, and I just, the first 2 years have been kind of a learning curve a little bit, even though I was involved a lot in other city boards before I even got here. It has been a learning curve, but I appreciate all the efforts of everyone sitting up here. You don't make a vote all by yourself. you have conversations with everybody, and sometimes picking up that phone is really difficult, but you do it because that's what the job is. I would like to personally wish everyone here a very happy holiday. I want to encourage everyone to never, ever, ever drive drunk. It hurts lives. And if this message helps one person out there, listen. I would like to thank again Mayor Stemple for being my friend and helping me get through this last 2 years. Oh, and don't forget to donate food, people. There's still a lot of food banks up there that need it. Talk to you later. Have a great holiday.
Speaking of food banks, the food pantry is open from 3 to 6 on Thursday at the Hillside Christian Fellowship Church off Glen Echo. We're in the back portable building. You'll see that's where all the cars are. Currently, we need volunteers as well as food donations. We'll take anything you can give, especially your time. We're actually expanding our prep time because we're getting so much produce. So we're also doing prep, not just on Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30, but also on Thursdays from noon to 2, right before we do our shopping. If you'd like to volunteer, let me know and I'll connect you with our director, Alex. Like I said, our prep crew, if you want to donate, is there on Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30 and now on Thursdays from noon to 2. The numbers of families that we're serving it's just growing exponentially. And we know that there's a lot more people out there that need our help, but that are too afraid to ask. So please reach out to your neighbors. If there's any that you suspect may be in need of some food or some resource help, please send them our way. We're very welcoming, and it's a really good place to make the connections that these folks need. The Parks and Rec Board met last night. It was the last meeting for Chair John Eichstad and Olivia Edwards. It was her last day as well. John, it has been an honor working with you on parks. Seeing the goals that you've accomplished have just been inspiring, and seeing your passion is breathtaking sometimes. You have the vision and you know where to go, and you get people excited to go there with you. I wish you the best in your travels, and I'll be very jealous because I want to hear all about it when you guys get back. We had an update on maintenance and upcoming projects. We also had a presentation from Adam Bykowski, who is a longtime Gladstone resident. His sister went to school with my daughter. And he had some unique knowledge of the BMX track that we all seem to be missing. This is the one down at Meldrum Bar Park. There's been so many questions on how this all got started, and it was really refreshing to hear the facts instead of all of the assumptions. This man literally created that park, and initially it was probably 2 times bigger than what it is right now, and it was located in different places throughout Meldrum Bar. He used a bucket and a shovel. There was no equipment, there was no nothing. It was just him. He started when he was 10 years old, I believe, riding down there. This is his passion, and he's moved on, and he now creates bike parks professionally. He would like to offer his expertise to help us creating an amazing destination at Meldrum Bar for bikers. And he calls them bikers, and I keep thinking of, bikers, but no, they're bikers. He's also identified some grants that can help us do that. Thank you to Adam. He's not here, but I told him since I'm going to have some free time, if he needs my help, I'll be more than happy to help him. As everyone knows, this will be my last meeting as mayor of Gladstone. It's been an honor serving the citizens, helping to bring the vision of our small town to light. I've been involved on committees and boards for a lot of years. The past 6 as your mayor, and the one thing that's never changed is our belief that we live somewhere special, that we refer to fondly as Mayberry. When I look back on what we've accomplished in such a short time, I'm in awe of the hard work that so many people have put in to make it happen. My term started January 10th of 2017, not a second sooner because I wasn't allowed. I was not allowed to talk to staff or counselors until the minute I was sworn in. So the start was a little rocky, and I really didn't have a whole lot of information, but luckily I'd been engaged with the city for so long that I had some kind of an idea of what was going on. The term started trying to repair local and regional relationships that Gladstone had a history of not answering the phone and locking the doors. We did not want to participate. We were our own island. And that's not the case. The first thing that we did was try to end the ridiculous lawsuit against the county for the library. And thankfully we had relationships in place, And the stakeholders came to the table and we made that happen. And you'll see that by this big, huge empty lot on Portland Avenue, which will be filled with a beautiful building soon. The other big accomplishment was ending the fight with water and environmental services, demanding that Gladstone and Oregon City pull out of the sewage district and build our own facility here in Gladstone that burned sewage. And we didn't produce enough, so we were going to have to truck 20 truckloads in every day. That one wasn't so easy. Lots of Saturday morning meetings over coffee talking about sewage, which was not high on my list of fun things to do on the weekend, but the regional elected officials were wonderful and they were committed to making it work. And it did, and we now have an incredible partnership with Wes. This was followed by a recall of 2 counselors, the resignation of the city administrator, appointment of new counselors, and the search for a new administrator. That alone should have been enough. The staff we had at the time was incredible though, and helped us get through this. We had a couple of somewhat calm years working on Portland Avenue design, the library, finally getting our master plans in place so we had a roadmap moving forward, building our new civic building in record time and on budget, the first big municipal project in Gladstone, and creating professional advisory groups that are knocking it out of the park. Then COVID, wildfires, and ice storms, civil unrest, all at the same time. Where one would have been enough to break a person, we had them all. And believe me when I say that we do not have the training coming in as an elected official to know what the heck we're doing on this one. So FEMA online courses became my best friend. Don't know how much they helped, but they were there for all of us. And by letting our incredible staff and local resources do their magic, made us an example of how to do it right. I loved being the mayor, serving the city in the best way I could, putting the city first, my business and my family last. But I have to tell you that the last 2 years have been challenging. Something changed and hate became the norm. The attacks were relentless, the lies and manipulation mind-boggling. I ran for this position kind of with an idea of what could happen. However, my family did not, but they became the target of some really evil people. My husband, son, and daughter had people call and write their employers with completely fraudulent claims trying to get them fired from their jobs. I had someone try to poison my dogs. I had dog feces thrown at my house. I have people pull into my driveway at all hours of the night, just sitting there watching our house. We have cameras now, lots of cameras. I have people follow me and leave threatening notes on my car and at places where I normally wouldn't go. I've had people call my business claiming I'm stealing from my own company, by the way, and that I'm homophobic and racist. 2 of my clients were also called with the same information. Absolutely ridiculous statements that are 100% false. This is what it's like when a handful of people manipulate the system for their own ends. Apparently, lies become the truth when it's plastered on social media and the newspaper. And when you say it enough, you start believing it. And I want to thank all of the people that reached out to me for the truth because you helped me have faith again. There are those that aren't done yet and are trying to manipulate council decisions based on false statements, specifically that I'm really angry that I lost. And I can assure you that that is the farthest from the truth. I didn't want to run in the first place. The only reason that I did was because I felt obligated to finish these amazing projects that we've started. I'm actually really thrilled that I lost because now I get my life back. My family gets to come first, and I get to spend my time on projects that feed my soul instead of being your punching bag. And I want to thank staff for weathering all of this, for staying true to what is Gladstone and helping us all move forward. The best part of being the mayor were the amazing people I've met and the friends I got out of the deal. You keep me sane and focused. And I want to thank my family for allowing me this journey, even when it meant you were targeted. I am so sorry for that. But mostly thank you to the citizens of Gladstone who were positive, passionate, and excited about what we were doing. You all inspired me every day. So I now have some time on my hands. So if you all need my help, just let me know. I'm at the food pantry on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And it seems like a lot of people have my phone number, know where I work and know where I live. So just reach out. The next meeting's January 10th, 2023, which is the City Council regular meeting, 6:30 at City Hall. January 13th through the 14th on 2023 is City Council goal setting sessions. January 25th, 2023 is a City Council work session, 5:30 at City Hall. So that's all I have. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy and seconded in tandem by Counselors Garlington, Hartman, and Alexander. Any discussion? Could you do a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Tracy,
1,000 times, yes.
Counselor Hartman,
Aye.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Mayor Stemple.
Yes, council meeting adjourned at 9:09 PM.